John Shannon is the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, the most famous man from Oliver, British Columbia, but he lives a few kilometers west of downtown Toronto these days in Port Credit, Ontario. Did the horns keep you up last night, John? Were you able to get a full night's rest, or was the city just too festive?
Well, a combination of the Jays and Diwali.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. We had some parties going on in Toronto last night.
Oh, hey, listen, there was walking the dog. There was tons of fireworks. I can tell you that right now. So, listen, it's exciting. When you talk to people at the coffee shop this morning, you don't have to say, did you watch the game?
No.
You just say, what do you think? And, there isn't any greater drama than what we saw in the seventh inning with George Springer.
We talk about this in this town this year for the Lions and the Whitecaps who are having really good seasons. But, it's for every sport. You need these generational runs, don't you, John, that set the hook in a new generation, that it plants the seed for like 20 years to come. And that's what this is going to do for a generation of baseball fans. I know people, I have lots of anecdotal evidence of people that really didn't ever watch baseball that are absolutely transfixed this year.
It was the basketball team when we saw that, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And here, your point's a good one, Blake, because there is a generation that thinks the Jose Bautista home run is the greatest home run in the history of the Blue Jays.
Right.
And I had to remind my neighbor this morning. By the way, they didn't even make the World Series that year.
Yeah, they've actually won a World Series doing that before.
Correct. And so I viewed Springer last night as the second greatest home run in Blue Jay history. For that reason, because they did get advanced to the championship. And there's something special with this team. The ownership is one thing, but what you're seeing from the players, what you're seeing from the manager is embracing the country. And that to me is when George Springer says at the end of the night, I did it for my teammates, I did it for my city, I did it for my country.
Yeah.
That changes a ton of perspective.
Totally.
They all said it.
They all said that. Now, whether they were told to say that, I don't know. But my goodness, John Schneider last night at the end of the game with Hazel, that was a moment that those 45,000 people in the stadium will remember, and I think that's a moment that the 7 million people that watched, and that's my personal guess. Hey, listen,
that's an amazing number.
I was thinking about this morning. The largest audience in Canadian sports TV history prior to 2010 was the Jays in 93. It was around 10 million. Now, Sid's goal was 17 million. They're not going to touch 17 million. But they're going to come close to 10 million.
Oh.
They are going to come close to 10 million people watching the World Series when the Dodgers come to town Friday.
Which is 1 in every 4 Canadians. And so to not call them Canada's team, like I don't know what world you're living in when that percentage of the country tunes in. Yeah, they did 4.7 million for the first couple of games in this series, which is just a gigantic
so 7's pretty
television number. And John's right.
Guess.
Like in a game 7 with the late game drama and whatnot, I mean, everybody, I'm sure, scurried.
And that's former Vancouver resident John Schneider, by the way.
That's right. Yeah. Former Vancouver Canadian skipper John Schneider. And they're taking their cues from him because he has talked a bit like that the entire season about Canada and our country.
The other aspect of it is, again, our friends at Rogers have done a brilliant idea. You can watch Dan and Buck on Sportsnet, and then you can watch the Fox feed on City.
Yes,
and because they don't change it, they don't alter it. They can put commercial substitution on the City feed. Yeah. So, it's a brilliant strategic business move, but it also, I think, gives you a choice of who you want to listen to, who you want to watch, and I think it's been a very smart move by Rogers.
And I think, of course, most Blue Jays fans will want to watch Dan and Buck, particularly Buck, everything that he has meant to the franchise over his long association with them as player, broadcaster, and, of course, fighting cancer here recently. Would that have been a tough sell to Major League Baseball, John, that we should have our own Indigenous Canadian broadcast, or do you think the guys in New York in the baseball office understood what that meant?
They understand completely. The Blue Jays are the largest region in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball made a decision years ago that Canada would be treated as an international product. If the Jays aren't in the World Series, Sportsnet runs the international feed. They don't run the Fox feed. So at that point, once you do that, then you have that Rogers has the right to do their own. Remember, 92 and 93, we didn't do it. It didn't happen. Remember Sean McDonough?
Sean McDonough called the 92 World Series with the.
And I think I want to say Bob Costas called 93, but I may be wrong.
Touch 'em all, Joe?
That was Tom Cheek on radio.
Well, of course, Cheek and Jerry Howarth on radio did both series, but you're right. No, I could clearly remember for the first time ever the World Series banner will fly north of the border, Sean McDonough in 92. It was also loud and chaotic in 93, Blake. I'm actually not sure who did call it on television.
I wanted to say Michaels, but maybe it was Costas.
I know I was in a bar in Hull, Quebec, and the place went crazy. So,
yeah.
We should talk hockey.
Well, my only great story about 92 was Game 6, the winning game in Atlanta, was the night of the U.S. debate. Ross Perot was the third party candidate.
And let me tell you something.
CBS did not do a pregame show at all. They just went right to the game. So CTV, I was at CTV at that time and got drafted to go to Atlanta and do a pregame show. And then we decided, well, if we're going to do the pregame show, if they win, why don't we do a postgame show? So that's my sojourn into Major League Baseball. Was I did Game 6 pre and post for CTV in Atlanta when the Jays won, and Ed Sprague was such a hero that year.
Yeah, it was Sean McDonough and Tim McCarver again in 93. Vin Scully did the national radio, ladies and gentlemen, with Johnny Bench as his color man. Okay, John, let's talk hockey.
I think you might be on the fourth line for the Canucks.
Yeah, exactly. How you feeling? Can you join the team in Pittsburgh tonight and suit up at center ice? How worried are you with all these Canucks injuries?
Well, let's face it, the last 10 minutes in Washington, they were on fumes. Down two forwards, down Besser. It was Thatcher Demko and his band of brothers, fending everybody off, and it was hard to watch at times, but it was impressive at the same time. Every team has injuries. We had Lindy Ruff on our show on Friday, and he was lamenting his life and injuries. But everybody's got them. Everybody has a problem with injuries, and they're only going to get worse with compacted schedules. When you consider that, it was Dallas, Chicago, Washington, Thursday, Friday, Sunday afternoon. Boy, that schedule's hard. And so you're going to have to have some depth across the board in order to try to get through it. And I'm not saying they can't win. I think that they've proved a few doubters on this road trip, but it's going to be a heck of a lot tougher. And they're going to need big games from big players. And Quinn Hughes seems to deliver every night. And Elias Pettersson is, I guess, starting to deliver at some level for this hockey club, but it's going to take more than that. It really is.
Patrick O'Veen was very transparent, saying, yep, I've got to rattle every bush and find some solution here. Is he saying that meaning days, or is he saying that meaning imminent in weeks?
I don't know that. You look at the schedule, and there isn't a break. There, it has to be imminent. I think, in many ways, it has to be at a point where they have to try to fix it as soon as possible. Really.
Philip Hedl.
I'm not sure there are bushes to shake here.
No, that's true. Like you got to find vegetation first. Filipino is, was a risk at the best of times.
We are Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty and Ishtar in the desert. Okay, looking for an oasis, looking for any kind of water source.
Is hindsight 2020, John? Like, was it crazy to gamble on Filipino's health like this?
I think the only person that can answer that is Filipino. Honestly, I really do. I think that he's the only person that could say, whether I'm healthy enough to do it. I think he had a great summer. He did try to improve his upper body strength in order to try to manage these situations. And talk about transparency. I think Jim and Patrick have been terribly transparent, saying we've been trying to shake the trees to find a body all summer long. We tried to find somebody, and either the prices were far too high, or they just didn't meet the expectation of what they needed or wanted. So sometimes you're forced into doing something. But the whole concept of was Hedl damaged goods? To me, I think that's an answer only for one person, and unfortunately, he's back in Vancouver now after the hit.
All right. So you tell me, how do you think they'll maintain, especially in the condensed schedule? They got Montreal and Edmonton back-to-back here at home Saturday, Sunday, this after Pittsburgh and Nashville this week. And then they got the JT Miller game a week from today. What do you think?
Talk about murderer's row. It's what they, in many terms, they're just going to have to keep it simple and dumb it down. This is now, when you think that Tom Villander is going to be in the lineup, this is going to be a tough indoctrination for him in this situation. I wonder how they can protect him at that same time. So this is where Adam Foote and the rest of the staff have to, let's just keep it simple. Maybe we don't play and try to play at breakneck speed like we have a couple of other games. Maybe we just try to keep the puck in the other end, off the glass, out of the zone, and then see what happens. It may not be pretty hockey, guys. It may not be pretty hockey, but it might be effective.
Yeah, and honestly, John, I'm not sure they're too dissimilar a team, even when everyone is healthy. I mean, it's not like this is a lineup that is teeming with goals that you want to play up and down hockey with a lot of opponents in the NHL and trade goals. I mean, your strength is your defense core and your goaltending. And I will still credit Rick Tocchet for this, they have done a very good job over the last couple of seasons of playing team defense, TEAM, the five skaters and the goaltender all working as a cohesive unit. And I think that they need it more than ever here with everybody who is missing. Because Paul Maurice taught us years ago, you remember that press conference? I don't mean to disparage wingers, but you don't win with them in the NHL. You win with center icemen and defensemen and goaltenders. And that's where we're at. Thursday,
John, we might get Nordiques Whalers. Have you seen this? It's Hurricanes versus Avs on Thursday, and beautiful. There's talk that the Carolina Hurricanes may dust off the greens, and the Avs are have already trotted out these Nordiques, which I think they're going to wear tomorrow as well. Which is funny because, of course, that's celebrating a Canadian antiquated franchise. Never mind a franchise from another city. What do you make of this phenomenon? Do you think, will neutrals be tuning in to watch that one?
Well, I tell you, I'm always amazed how Carolina fans have embraced the Whalers. To me, it's always been fascinating that they've been able to do that. When you put the Nordiques on the Avalanche, I just wonder if you're rubbing salt into a wound. I really do. Quebec City is, still yearning for that moment where Gary Bettman announces that a team is coming back, which I don't think will ever happen. by the way.
No, it's
Not with this commission.
It's a good point because, like, Montreal Expos fans, I think deep down know, like, we're probably never getting that. Like, we're not getting a ballpark.
Well, you need a stadium. You need a stadium there.
Yeah. So, like, there's a big
City's got a
obstacle.
beautiful arena.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually plausible there. Yeah.
Yeah. So as much as the romance, by the way, if there was all this romance for the WHA in 1978, the WHA may not have disappeared.
That's right.
True.
when you think about it, but they are spectacular uniforms, and the colors are brilliantly bright.
Yes.
I mean, the Quebec Nordiques blue is spectacular, and the Whaler green with that logo, and in many ways is probably I think the single greatest creative logo in professional sports, other than the Expo. Other than the Expo's logo.
Brewers is good too, but yes.
Yeah, Brewers was a copy. It was a copy of the Expo.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But that to me is what it's all about. I just think that you're going to have that guy leaning over his fence in Quebec City, yearning that why isn't that my team still?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with regards to the Whalers and why the folks in Carolina and abroad have held a candle for that team and those old Adam Division playoff series. Boy, ask Ray about them at the Colisée, at the Forum, at the mall in Hartford. For those who are too young to remember, the Hartford Whalers played. What was it called? The Civic Center.
Harvard Civic
Center, which was in a mall. Like, you could go to J.C. Penney on one end, you could go to the NHL game on the other end of the mall. John, Calgary is 1-6. What are your people in southern Alberta telling you these days about the direction of the Flames and whether that could be a quick sell-off?
Well, they're young guys. They are believing in their young guys. Craig Conroy knows exactly what his team is. Last year, all the stars aligned for the second half of the season for them to get that close to the playoffs. This is a team in transition. This is a team in a rebuild. They're preparing not to make the playoffs this year. They're preparing to have a really good team when the new arena opens. And how long away is that? I think that they're shocked that they haven't been able to get any goal scoring so far, because they did have goal scoring in the second half of the season. Dustin Wolf is still Dustin Wolf. Boy, he was good last night against Winnipeg. And they've got some young talent. They're not as bad as 1-6. They may not be a 500 team, but you know what? Craig Conroy, Ryan Huska have their work cut out for them at this point, and you do wonder when the patience runs out.
Yeah, and we are eyeing Nazem Kadri here, as are a lot. I mean, what are you going to do there? If you're trading Rasmus Anderson, it makes an infinite amount of sense to trade the 35-year-old Nazem Kadri.
Signed till he's 39.
With 3 more years at $7 million. I realize he's got a no move and he controls the process there. But I would have to think if you're trading Anderson, you understand that the here and now matters less. And
might be a question more for February and March.
I have to think there's a huge market for Nazem Kadri, given the number of teams that are looking for a center iceman and looking for that, pugnacity in the playoffs. We'll see where that one goes. He's a good player. Yep. He had a very nice year last year. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Probably for this year and next anyway. It's the 2 years after that you're under contract with him.
For sure. But the bridge you're going to have to cross.
Yep.
Marvelous stuff, Mr. Shannon. Thank you for this. Until next week.
Cheers, boys.